Hey, what's up guys, it's DarkArmedDuelist and today doing an Ice Barrier deck profile. So I'm really excited to do some for you guys because this deck is an extremely powerful deck that can summon out all sorts of awesome synchro monsters to help you go in for game. So without further ado, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell there so you can become part of the notification squad, and definitely check the Patreon down in the description below for all those awesome rewards. Like getting your name scratched for any single video, getting assigned cards in the mail, and even getting to request a deck profile every single month to your Patreon. So without further ado, let's get straight on into this. So first off, we're going to be playing 3 copies of Mirror Mage. Mirror Mage is one of the most important cards in the entire deck, with it having the ability to tribute one of their effect monster to be able to special summon to 3 Ice Barrier tokens to your side of the field that are Aqua, Water, level 1, 0 attack, and 0 defense. And if you do, increase this card's level by that number. Also, you cannot special summon from the extract for the rest of the turn except Water Synchro monsters, which is not that big of a deal. This is going to help you going for some awesome synchro plays. This card will become level 5 when you summon out all 3 of those tokens to your side of the field, which is absolutely amazing. This card also has the ability that this card is sent to the graveyard. You can actually add 1 Ice Barrier card that's banished or in your deck to your hand, except for the copy of Mirror Mage, which is a great way to search out the exact card that you need, like a copy of your Freezing Chains. We then play 3 copies of Revealer. Revealer is one of the best normal summons in the entire deck, that while you control another Ice Barrier monster, your opponent cannot tribute summon, which is a crazy powerful effect. You can also discard a card to be able to special summon an Ice Barrier tuner from your deck. Also, it locks you into summoning water monsters for the rest of the turn. Also, if you would discard or send a card from your hand to the graveyard to activate an Ice Barrier monster's effect, you manage to discard from the grave instead of one of those cards, which is a really cool ability. We then play 3 copies of Swordsman. Swordsman is definitely a 3 out in the middle. This card is one of the most powerful cards in the entire deck. The while you control another Ice Barrier monster, your opponent cannot activate the effects of monsters in their graveyard, meaning this card is like a copy of Abyss Dweller. This card is also a great extender because if you control an Ice Barrier monster, you can special summon this card from your hand in defense position, and if this card is normal or special summon, you can special summon a level 5 or lower Ice Barrier monster from the hand or the graveyard, which is an awesome ability to instantly bring out another Ice Barrier monster side of the field, because this card is a level 6 tuner monster helping you go in for some synchro plays. We then play 2 copies of Speaker. Speaker is amazing as an extender in the deck because this card is a crazy powerful effect that if you control an Ice Barrier monster, you can special summon this card in the hand, and if you control an Ice Barrier monster, you manage this card in the graveyard to special summon an Ice Barrier token to your side of the field to help you go into more synchro plays, giving you a level 1 monster on your side of the field to go in for more synchro plays. We then play 2 copies of Hexa. Hexa is amazing in the deck as a 2 of them. It's just an awesome card overall in the deck because this card has the ability while you control another Ice Barrier monster, monsters that your opponent control lose 500 attack and defense points, which is a pretty cool effect for this card to have. Also, during your main phase, you can send a level 3 or lower Ice Barrier monster from your deck to the graveyard, and if you do, this card's level becomes the same as that monster's until the end of the turn, helping you get your copy of your Mirror Mage into the graveyard, which is an awesome effect to help you get Mirror Mage in the graveyard so you can get a search. We then play a single copy of General Ryo. General Ryo is one of my favorite cards in the entire deck. This card is absolutely broken for the build, as this card has the ability that when your opponent activates a card effect or a monster effect on the field, they have to discard a card or it negates the effect, which is absolutely crazy to be able to use this card. And it can basically be a skill drain if your opponent has no cards in their hand, which is absolutely crazy. This card is amazing to be able to summon off your copy of Lancia, and it's one of those powerful cards in the entire build. We then play a single copy of Warlock of the Ice Barrier. Warlock is really good as a 1-F in the deck, as this card has the ability while you control another face-up Ice Barrier monster, both players must set spells before activating them, and they cannot be activated until their next turn, basically being like anti-spell fragrance, which is absolutely crazy. We then play 3 copies of Ranagrini. Ranagrini is really good as a 3-F in the build because this card has the ability to discard one of their Ice Jade card or a water monster to special summon this card from your hand. Then you can special summon an Ice Jade token to your side of the field that's a level 3. letting you go in for a level 10 synchro play by just discarding a card. You can special summon this card and that level 3 token to your side of the field, and since this card is a tuner, it makes it super easy to go in for your synchro plays, like going in for a copy of Lancia. We then play 3 copies of Swap Frog. Swap Frog is definitely a 3 out in the build to work with our copy of Mirror Mage, because this card has the ability you can special summon this card in your hand by discarding one other water monster. And when this card is summoned, you can send a level 2 or lower water aqua monster from your deck or face up from the field to the graveyard, which is a great effect to help you send your copy of Mirror Mage from your deck to the graveyard off your copy of Swap Frog's effect, making Swap Frog one of the most powerful cards in the entire build. We then play 3 copies of Ash Blossom. Ash Blossom is definitely a 3 of them built just to stop the opponent from touching the deck. We can also play 3 copies of Nibiru because we can easily out a Nibiru token, and this card is just great for breaking your opponent's board. We then play 2 copies of Effect Veiler. Effect Veiler is just really good overall in the build to basically just stop your opponent's monster effects. So, that's it for the monsters, guys. Let's get into the spells. So for the spells, we're going to start with a single copy of Called by the Grave. Called by the Grave is definitely a 1 of in the build just to stop your opponent from hand trapping you while you're going in for all of your plays. We then play a single copy of Freezing Chains of the Ice Barrier. This card is an amazing card that's basically like a monster reborn for the deck, that when this card is activated, you get to target a level 4 or lower Ice Barrier monster in your graveyard and special summon it. Also, while you control 3 or more Ice Barrier monsters that you control are unaffected by the activated effects of your opponent's monsters that were special summoned from the extract, which is a crazy powerful ability. We then play a single copy of Winds Over the Ice Barrier. Winds Over the Ice Barrier is really cool to help you tag out your Ice Barrier monsters for other Ice Barrier monsters that you need. We then play 2 copies of Triple Tactics Talent. Triple Tactics Talent is definitely a 2 of in the deck, because this card has a really cool ability to let you draw 2 cards, take control of an opponent's monster, or look at your opponent's hand, choose a card from it, and shuffle it into the deck, which is a crazy powerful effect to be able to use to basically get one of those 3 powerful abilities. We then also play 3 copies of Medallion. Medallion is basically the Rhoda for the deck, and this card is a not once per turn effect to be able to add any Ice Barrier monster you want from your deck to your hand, making this card definitely a 3 of in the build to grab the exact Ice Barrier monster that you need from your deck to your hand. So, that's it for the spells, guys. Let's get into the traps. So for the traps, we're just going to be playing 3, and that's going to be 3 copies of Infinite Impermanence. Infinite Impermanence is really good to play in the deck to basically stop your opponent's monster effects and also lock down entire columns of spells and traps. This card is one of the best hand traps in the entire game currently because it doesn't play into talents or thrust, making this card a definite 3 of in the build. So that's it for the main deck, guys. Let's get into the extra deck. So for the extra deck, we're going to start off with Lancia. Lancia, unfortunately, is not an Ice Barrier monster. This card is an Ice Mountain monster, which is really interesting. Now, this card is still definitely a 2 of in the build because it helps you summon your Ice Barrier monsters directly from your deck. As this card has the ability once per chain, if your opponent special summons a monster except during the damage step, you can special summon an Ice Barrier monster from your hand, deck, extract, or graveyard. Then you can change one attack to a monster your opponent controls to defense position. You only effect this card once per turn. Also, this card has the ability if a face-up synchro monster or synchro summon card, this face-up synchro summon card you control actually leaves the field because of an opponent's card, you can actually special summon an Ice Barrier synchro monster from your extract, and it is treated as a synchro summon, helping you summon out your copies of Trishula, which is absolutely amazing if your opponent decides to deal with this card. We then play a single copy of Trishula Zero. Trishula Zero is amazing in the deck, as this card has the ability when this card is synchro summon, you can banish up to 3 cards your opponent controls, and also this card actually can tag out for your copy of the original Trishula, because if the synchro summon card in its owner's control is destroyed by an opponent's card, you can special summon a copy of the original Trishula from your extract or your graveyard, and its attack becomes 3,300, then half the attack of any face-up monster that your opponent currently controls. Also, negate their effects, which is a really powerful effect. We play a single copy of the original Trishula. Trishula is amazing in the deck just as a 1-up to help you banish multiple cards. It's just an amazing card overall in the deck. You can play a single copy of Grandma-Greenie. Grandma-Greenie is just a really powerful water option in the extract to be able to summon out to your side of the field using Grandma-Greenie or any of your other cards. You're usually going to go for your copy of Lancia first, but this card is still a really cool option. We can play a single copy of the Sword Soul Supreme Sovereign. This card is also a great option to make in the deck, as this card is a really cool ability that for each banished card, this card gains 100 attack and defense, and monsters that your opponent control lose 100 attack and defense. And if this card would be destroyed by a card effect, you can banish a card from your grave instead, and if a card becomes banished, you can actually banish a card each from both your opponent's field and graveyard, which is a really cool effect because it's non-targeting. And my single copy of Ravenous Croco Dragon. Ravenous Croco Dragon is part of a combo in the deck that helps you draw 4 cards, and this card can also spot remove cards off the field. We play a single copy of Dragite. Dragite is definitely a 1-of in the deck. This card is a spell trap negate, which is why we're playing this card in the build. We play a single copy of White Aura Whale. White Aura Whale is one of my favorite cards to summon in this entire deck, because this card is kind of like a Mirror Force-ish card. Then when this card is synchro summoned, you can actually destroy all your opponent's attack position monsters, which is a really cool ability. This card can make up to 2 attacks on monsters during each battle phase, and if this card attacks a defense position monster, you inflict piercing damage to your opponent, which is an amazing effect. We then play a single copy of Coral Dragon. I have considered playing 2 copies of this card in the deck, but I really like 1 copy for now. This card has the ability once per turn, you can discard a card and then target a card your opponent controls and destroy it. And if this synchro summon card is sent from the field to the graveyard, you can draw a card, which is great to combo with your copy of Mirror Mage, because Mirror Mage will come at level 5, and then you can synchro away your copy of Mirror Mage, plus one of its tokens that you generate off of Mirror Mage to summon out this card to your side of the field, and this card is a tuner, helping you go in for more synchro plays. We can play a single copy of Bahamut Shark, so we can summon out our copy of Totally Awesome. Totally Awesome really is totally awesome in this deck to basically just use this card as a walking negate. Plus we actually play Frog in this deck, so you can maximize this card's effect. Play a single copy of Zelantis. Zelantis is amazing to basically just banish every monster on the field and then bring them back to your side of the field. And since we're playing a single copy of Coral Anemone alongside our copy of Zelantis, we can board wipe our opponent unless they're playing water, because this card is a really cool ability that you get to target a water monster with 15 or less attack in your graveyard, especially summon it's a zone this card points to, but it locks you into water monsters for the rest of the turn. Your copy of Zelantis will banish every monster off the field and then put them back, and since we're the ones putting them back, if we are waterlocked and our opponent has monsters that are not water, we cannot put them back on the field, which is really interesting for a copy of World Sea Dragon Zelantis' effect to basically just board wipe your opponent. Finally, play a single copy of Alamirage. Alamirage is really good in the deck to be able to work with your copy of Mirror Mage, because you can normally summon out Mirror Mage, link it away, and summon out a copy of Alamirage, search out your copy of your Freezing Chain, and then bring it back to your side of the field, giving you some more options. So that's it for the deck, guys. I hope you did enjoy. This deck is super fun to be able to play. If you guys have never played an Ice Barrier deck before, you should definitely give this deck a try, because it's an extremely fun deck to play, and it's absolutely crazy how powerful this deck is now. It's really amazing how far Ice Barrier has come. So that's gonna do this one, guys. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell in there so you can become part of the notification squad, and we'll see you guys in the next video. See you later, guys.